So I'm just sitting here thinking, and this might all sound bad shit, but I think this entire system really works around light. I think that we are steeped in light, but it's a false light. It's the false light of Lucifer. Lucifer's the bearer of the false light. That's why they worship him. The creator of this matrix. They use light to encode reality. Here, it's a type of light construct, and they program everything around us that emits light because that's part of the tethered construct, the matrix that we live in. I believe that even our sun uh, is part of the encoding process, even though I think that our sun, our original sun, was part of the original encoding process, right? So I think they've either covered the sun or they found a way to, I don't know, replace it, put something on top of it, whatever. And that's putting out a different frequency or a different, it's emitting, a different type of light. That's why everybody says, I've heard stories about the sun simulator. Everybody talks about, or so many people talk about, like, man, the light from the sun has changed because the encoding process changed. There's something about light. I'm telling you. I think light is how you encode reality. It's more than just. It's more than what we were told. I think that a lot of times these cars that drive around, like, they are encoding. They are encoding. I think that's what's going on. The cell phones, the glowing screens. It's more than just energy weapons. You catch these asshats and they'll walk right by you and they'll have their light blaring on their cell phone. They're encoding their reality around you. When things shift, when things change, think about this. Really think about this. You have people who talk about being in, and I've been in these situations, people who find themselves in these weird situations where it's almost like everything shifts. Okay? And suddenly you're in this weird, like, parallel reality where something is being done to you or whatever. It's the light, man. It's the light. The light is encoding this matrix around us. The light is encoding this matrix around us. These cars, all of it. Think about the movie It, if you've seen that movie. And everything it was all this elaborate, illusion, because at the base of it, when you got past all the scary forms and all the creepy shit, it was just a series of lights. You know what I'm saying? I think the street lights are a factor in this. A very strong factor in this. I think these street lights are decoding our reality. They're projecting, not decoding, they're projecting this reality outward. I would it'd almost be worth the research really to find somewhere on the planet where it's completely off the grid, right? And I think that's what's going to have to happen. When this thing falls, this whole grid has to shut down. Remember, like in the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still? They shut down the electrical grid. They had to shut it down. Part of this has to do, a lot of this has to do with the light. I'm very positive about this actually. Even with me, like I've made videos before where I've displayed myself like shutting down street lamps, right? But I'm only able to mess with the ones that have like an orange glow to them. A very different type of light as opposed to um the ones like this fluorescent, white type of light. Remember, they went in and they changed all these street lamps. It was a massive rollout, and they claimed that it had something to do with syncing them to a 5G network. Go back and really like think of like research this. Like go back and when they did this, they claimed it was to put them all on the same signal. So street lamps have been working like they've been working for however long. But you claim you can make them work better now by putting them on this bullshit 5G network, whatever. I can't mess with those. In fact, go back and look at my video. I think the most recent video that I've uploaded that showed me turning off a street lamp, watch it very carefully, because what you'll see, I'm not pulling any of this out of my ass. I have studied this, I have documented this. This is the real truth as far as I've been seeing it. Look at the video. When I shut that light down, I only shut off the side that has an orange glow. That white light stays the same. It doesn't affect anything, it doesn't go off, nothing happens. I think when they installed those lights, it was to change something within this matrix. Remember, the sun. People talked about how, man, I used to remember the sun had this, deep orange light that came off it. Now it's like this weird, like white fluorescent type of strange light. It's not the same light that I remember coming from the sun. Well, that's why. They're changing the way reality is being processed. Constantly. Make no mistake about it, people. We're in a prison. And they're constantly changing things around us by changing the light. That's what this whole Lucifer thing is about. That is why they're obsessed with Lucifer. Lucifer is the light bearer. Lucifer is the creator of the false matrix. Same with the story of Prometheus. What happened with Prometheus? Prometheus took the fire from the gods. Fire, light. He decided to take what came from the higher realms and replicate it somewhere on a lower aspect. And in that story, the gods are like, oh, hell no. And he had to pay a price for that. I think that's what's happening. I think that is what is continuing to happen. It's continuing to happen. And it's, I'm getting more and more like confirmations about this. Go back and look at Green Lantern. Really go like, study the lore behind Green Lantern. I don't know if they explain it in the movie, but I know that the power of the ring, it creates these things called hard light constructs. Hard light constructs. Green Lantern can do anything with that ring when it comes to the physical world, because he's projecting these light constructs that can interact with the physical, but it's still light. And when he has no more need for those constructs, they either fizzle, they shatter. You get what I'm saying? It's all about light. And how we're interacting with it. There's a place, and I noticed this when I was visiting a friend who was sick, in Tallahassee, Florida, which is like an hour south of here, where I live. And we were heading back, and it was in the evening, through this town called Thomasville. And I noticed, it was hard not to notice, every street lamp in that town was violet. It was purple. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And it just stuck out immediately. I was like, something's going on here. Like, this has something to do with, I don't know. Bet you money. Bet my bottom dollar that those purple lights were projecting out a different type of reality. I bet you that's what was going on. That's what was happening. It's these lights, man. These lights are doing weird crap. That is why, you know, supernatural events, flickering lights, because the reality is changing. It's got nothing to do with, oh, it's an overload on the electrical grid. No. Reality is changing. It's like they're like little reality projectors. That's what you're dealing with. Anyway, thought I'd rant about that for a little while. Hope you folks are having a good night. Take it easy.